Good afternoon, everyone. It is 12:01, and we're calling the meeting to order. Is there any public comment? No public comment. And we can go right to item number 1. Briefing on upcoming Brownsville Public Utilities Board Water and Wastewater Master Plan.
Good afternoon, Mark Dombrowski, the Chief Operating Officer. So I just wanted to give you a preview of what you'll be reviewing in June here at this committee, as well as going to the board for July. So it's the Water Wastewater Master Plan. And while there's not a specific requirement for this plan, there is a specific requirement to have a capital improvement plan, and you need that in order to set impact fees. And so after we adopt or finalize this plan, we'll be moving forward with the proposed CIP and updating our impact fees on the water and wastewater side.
The specific CIPs for this plan.
Right, so we do, this is a projection, I'm gonna get into a little bit here. It develops a long-term CIP based upon that land use. That's what we're doing here. Industry tends to update these plans about every 5 to 10 years, and the last time we updated it was in 2016, so we're within that window here. There are a number of responsible parties in this plan. So the first is the City of Brownsville. They developed a land use development plan, and that was finalized in June of '24. So that's what this plan is based upon. So we look at specific developments. We selected a consultant, Freeze Nichols, to help us develop that plan. And then our staff have been both assisting with the modeling of the systems as well as field testing in that area. And they have a recommended capital improvement plan with that. And finally, we'll make recommendations moving forward with the draft master plan. We did receive that plan back in February of '25, and we've been reviewing that with the assistance of the consultant since then. Some of the key parts of the plan, it's a comprehensive guidance and long-term strategy for water, wastewater. And so we look at that land use assumption. We look at where we believe the city is growing, which parts. It looks at building out systems to support those populations, both the residents and businesses. We also model the system to make sure it can handle the flows. We make sure that it's in compliance with the regulatory requirements, and we develop that CIP list for the water wastewater plan. Some of the key deliverables, of course, is the wastewater flow monitoring, calibration, and analysis of storm events. So one of the challenges we had was we like to look at least 2 heavy rain events, and it took us almost 2 years to have 2 heavy rain events, but we did model those. And then we looked at how that flows and make sure that the system can handle that. We also update our as-built and our GIS system. And then one of the things that we did add about halfway through the process is we asked the consultants to look at an extreme drought situation. If all we could operate was SRWA, how could we manage the system using our valves and trying to maintain pressure? That was sort of an extreme drought condition we had them run. And of course, we have the CIP list that's a part of that plan. So the next steps I think we're trying to schedule a June meeting around the middle of the month. We'll have the consultants here to go over this whole plan in detail with you, as well as the CIP, that list that comes out of that, and then the next steps towards the impact fees. And then we hope to bring that to the July board as well with the consultants here, and then we'll finalize that plan. Any questions?
No?
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for the update.
Right, thanks.
Oh, actually, I have one question.
Yes.
So in some areas, I'm told that when it rains, wastewater can back up. So I'm guessing that's why you needed also the rain projections. But I can't really understand why, because they're closed lines, right?
They're generally closed. It's called I&I inflow and infiltration. And so what usually happens, it's the lift stations that could flow, that rainwater gets into the lift stations. What we do as a precursor area, we know which ones those potentially hits, and before rainstorms, we send our crews out there to make sure that those lift stations are clear and the pumps are working. But that's the main culprit is inflow and infiltration of rainwater getting into our system. And we try to seal it up so that that does not happen. The stormwater system should be separate from your sanitary sewer system.
Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you,
Okay.
thank you for the update.
Okay, the next.
Item number 2, Strategic Plan 2026 to 2030, update and consultant selection.
Right. So, as you know, it's about time to update our strategic plan. The last plan we had was 2019 to 2024. We were doing an update to that back in 24, and we decided that given all the changes in both Brownsville as well as industry, it just made sense to do a whole new strategic plan. So that function was moved over to the operations group in 24. We decided to do 2026 to 2030 5-year plan, and we issued an RFP for that. And some of the things we did is, like I just briefed you on the water wastewater master plan, we have a number of planning functions we do here. So we're going to make sure that we build on those existing plans. We're not starting from scratch there. We've really built in an effective stakeholder engagement to include our city commission, include GBIC, the Port of Brownsville, all those other entities that depend on BPUB. We continue to work on development of the key performance indicators that are linked to those strategic initiatives. And we've decided to go with the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis that we think best fits for this utility. We issued the RFP back in March of 25. We did do an extensive outreach. I think it was more than 15 firms we sent it to. We received 3 proposals. We evaluated those in May with a committee of employees here within BPUB. We hope to bring this to the full board on June 2nd, along with the contract. And sometime there, soon after, we can have the meeting earlier in June, we will, to have that project kickoff. And we think it's about 19 weeks, so you should finish up in December of 25. A couple of things we do, reasons why we do strategic, obviously, is that sort of guiding direction. Resource allocations well over the next 5 years, including that water wastewater master plan. Performance enhancement, trying to linking those key performance indicators to determine when we reach success. And of course, stakeholder engagement, that we're going to, as a part of this process, we're going to have a dedicated website for our strategic website so the community can follow along as we make progress against those strategic initiatives. We developed a statement of work there. Some key highlights there is, the strong project management. We asked to follow the PMBOK or project management professionals format. We're going to use a SWOT framework. We're going to revisit the vision, mission, and our core values, strategic outcomes, KPIs. We're going to align programs, projects, and initiatives. We have a lot already going on. And through this plan, we're going to align those to hopefully get some synergy. We also may recommend stop doing some things so we can focus our efforts on those that matter the most. And finally, implementation plans, financial impacts, and the final plan delivery in December. The consultant we've chosen, the Scott Madden Incorporated, they're a pretty well-known firm in the industry. They're out of Atlanta. I've worked with them before. They've been around since 1983. And really strategic planning, sort of optimization planning is their strengths. That's what they do. Some of their clients have been, AEP, as you know them, CPS Energy at San Antonio, Jacksonville Electric Authority, who's also a water wastewater operator, and Nebraska Public Power District. Some of the reasons why we picked them is obviously their industry leadership and experience. They had strong qualifications there. One of their key services is strategic planning, utility industries. Based upon the feedback from their customers, they've proven impacts and results with their plans. Stakeholder-centric approach, they really focused a lot on getting feedback from all the stakeholders. And finally, we felt they were committed to quality and ethical standards. This is their timeline and their approach. So built upon strong background in project management. First part is a sort of strategic assessment and data gathering. So stakeholder engagement, including meeting with all the board members, and the SWOT analysis, and they'll develop a framework. About halfway through, they'll switch over to strategic development and implementation with a plan formation. They'll make recommendations and implementation guidance, and they'll finish up with socialization. And that's really is meeting with stakeholders, meeting with the board, meeting with the commission, the website, getting all this information out to the public. The cost here, these are based upon their estimate. Majority of work will be an on-site person at the manager level, provided by a strong partner and the senior analyst. And again, all these folks are well experienced in the utility industry. They're going to do a survey. They also have travel costs associated with that. So the total cost is about $380,000. And of course, if you look at that and divide that by 5 years for a 5-year plan, and then 3 different business units, including water, wastewater, electric, that comes about $25,000 per year. So we think that's pretty reasonable for a robust plan as this. So next steps is we're going to be bringing this to the June 2nd board meeting along with the contract itself for board consideration. Any questions?
Thank you so much for bringing this update. The strategic plan is something that's very important to our organization. And I just want to hear it again. So this time we're going to have actionable goals, right? And,
yes.
and targets for, I love it. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to it. So December of this year is when
That's
we
our
should have
target
the
date,
final
yes.
document. Great.
Correct.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
No, no questions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Next item number 3, presentation and discussion of the Landis plus AMI. I can't even say that, tariffs. Oh, you're going to give us bad news.
No,
No?
actually, a little bit better than we thought.
Oh, great.
I mean, there's still tariffs. As everybody's aware, with the current situation, there have been tariffs placed on various countries at different levels. Our electric meters, some of our electric meters are made in Mexico. This is part of our due diligence was to meet with Spencer Fain and our local council to review the situation. And Spencer Fain provided this overview. Long story short, we're focused on the electric meters at this point in time. Any meter that where 50% of the material or work is done in Mexico is exempt. That was good news for us because the majority of our residential meters meet that criteria. So they won't be tariffed. We were not sure about that, so that's a huge win for us. Unfortunately, the commercial meters, the PCB board comes from Vietnam, and then it's assembled in Mexico. So it does not meet the 50% criteria. So the commercial meters will be tariffed. That's really what this slide speaks to. If you walk through it, there is a small typo. It mentions water, but really they're talking about electric meters. Landis+Gyr only makes our electric meters. So our communications network material and our residential meters will not be tariffed. The commercial meters will be. They are the smaller part of the order, so that was what was good for us. Any questions on this slide before I move along?
Are you going to share quantity?
Yes.
Okay.
Here's the total contract for Landis+Gyr. The this is the entirety of the contract. So if you walk through it, basically, we have a contract for $6.6 million in electric meters and networking with them and software. The electric meters this is what's remaining on the order, because we had already received some. We're already in gear. We've already installed about 4,000 electric meters and about 4,500 water meters. So right now, our big concern is to keep the train moving. Don't stop it. These are the remaining orders. So we have about $5 million total remaining on that order. And as I stated, if you look at the bottom, the residential meters meet the USMAC MAC compliant, and therefore will pay zero tariff. The commercial meters are subject to the 25% tariff. BPUB will pay 18%, which is about $145,000, and Landis & Gyr will absorb the other 7%. This is just a quick overview on the status of the project. The installation of water meters and electric meters began in April. We have an installation partner throughout town that is doing the physical installation of the meters. Allegiant, they're cross-branded with PUB, and we notify all of our customers ahead of time that they're coming. Completed milestones, the electric network devices have been installed. The head-end system, which is the software system that actually speaks to the meters, has been installed, and the meter data management system has been provisioned. Data mapping has been completed, and the interfaces between all the different systems, which we'll show you the big giant busy chart, they're basically all done. So all the back-end work for the systems, I shouldn't say all, let's say 90 to 95% of the back-end work has been done. That was about the first 9 months of work. And now we're actually in the installation phase and then fixing any little bugs, because obviously you can't really address them until you light the meters up. So that was part of this plan. Install the meters, light it up, and see how the integrations are holding and where are the little bugs coming in, and then address those issues. So that's kind of where we're at now. And just as another note, the AMI solution is the foundation for our other future efforts, such as an outage management system that would, in order to better tell where the outages are and what's causing them, you need the meters to talk to this system. So this is I always kind of call the AMI system as the foundation for these other things. We're also looking at bringing in a customer engagement portal so customers can access their own information whenever they want. And it'll help them see what's going on with their meters, when they're consuming power, when they're not consuming power, help them to manage that, and basically share the information that we have with them. That's the whole point. And it'll also help in engineering analysis to see, load flow, volt var, a bunch of different analysis tools that the engineers are looking forward to finally getting their hands on. So that's kind of that's kind of where we're going with it. The AMI system is not. It's the beginning. It's not the end. Any questions on? Okay. Here's where we go with the total budget that was approved by the board at the beginning is $29.7 million. Our base AMI budget came out after we went through negotiations, came out at about 25.7. So we rolled the rest into contingency. As you all are aware, we've been coming to you for minor things here and there, and basically we've been able to stick to our budget of 29.7 by having contingency pay for the other items that have popped up. And that's kind of where we're at. So from the 3.9 million, we'll take the Landis & Gyr tariff, which is the $145,000 number, and we'll still have about 1.5 million left in contingency. So the project is moving along. We've been able to stay within budget and relatively on time. So that's the good news. If we would have gotten hit with the total amount, we were looking at about 900,000. So that's what had us worried at the beginning. Luckily, as I stated, the residential meters are not, they're compliant. So that $900,000 number came down to about 145. So even though we're not happy about that, it is what it is. This is the busy chart that just kind of shows the whole project in all the different pieces of software that we're integrating. The only reason we really put it up here, I don't expect anybody to memorize anything here, is just to show each one of those blocks is a different system. And this is what we're dealing with when in coordinating everything, whether it's the meter data management system, the customer information system, the outage management system, even vehicle location and GPS, our customer portals, both the electrical and water head-end systems, et cetera, et cetera. It's just a very complex thing, and any delay in one area kind of cascades to the others. So that's why we're usually very diligent in trying to keep things moving forward and addressing any issues that pop up as quickly as we can. Any other questions? I think.
Do you have any questions?
I guess it's more of a comment, which is, I know the rest of the team is working on the whole tariff thing, right? If we're gonna be paying to make sure that we get proof, from the vendor that they in fact paid the particular tariff, and there's a lot of things kind of around that. So I agree that a tariff is kind of outside of the scope of what we were planning. Our legal team is also looking at, we already had a contract, was it in there, contemplated or not? And if we are forced to pay, just to make sure that our vendor did in fact pay that, as opposed to just increase the price on us, right? And we're having to pay. So I think we're doing stuff in the background just to make sure that when we're forced to pay these tariffs, that we're doing our due diligence to make sure that they're correct.
And we are. To that point specifically, we did have Spencer Fane review the contract. In section 4.3, it clearly states that we're liable for any government fees or tariffs. So that box has been checked. In speaking to Landis and Gear, they're having the exact same issue with all of their other, as you can imagine, it's kind of a worldwide issue. So everybody's kind of trying to figure out, okay, how do we deal with this and how do we verify that? Very pointedly, they said, okay, what are you looking for? And I said, I want to make sure that you're not selling me meters that are sitting in a warehouse in Dallas and marking them up 25% and bringing them over. And they chuckled and said, got it, we understand completely. I said, look, we're working with our other customers. We haven't, what would you like to see? And I used to do import-export in another life. And I said, well, you have crossing documents. Can you show me, can you share that with me? So they're willing to share them to an extent. They're going to have to redact certain things because obviously it shows their sales price, their actual construction price, for lack of or manufacturing price, and they don't want to share that because they typically don't with their customers, and then it becomes a public document, and their competitors would get a hold of that. But we are working with them to what is acceptable, what's not. I can tell you that their plant is in Reynosa, so we know that. They're made here, local, in the area, in Mexico. They are willing to share their documents to some extent to show that this model of meter came across on our trucks, and then our order came from that. So we're working with legal to kind of figure out the details of how we're going to do that. But we are trying to address that situation.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you for this update. And yeah, let's keep going. I'm glad that the amount wasn't as bad as it could have been. But yes, I agree. We should double check and let's carry on.
So, Madam Chair, I do want Eddie to touch on another point, and I should have talked to him beforehand. Both of you were not on the board when the AMI decision was made, but before that, once you enter into a specific type of meter, Eddie, can you elaborate, because I think a question has been brought, not by either one of you, but by others, is can we switch to another type of meter in the integration? And that's why the busy slide was there, was that once the decision it becomes like a sole source for us. Can you touch upon that?
Yeah, I think sole source kind of gets tossed around a little bit. We had various companies bid. Now, once you choose a vendor, you're stuck with them for better or for worse, so you do your best to pick a good partner. So there were other choices. I did have our consultants take a quick look, and I asked them what's going on with everyone else. They said, Eddie, eSource took a look for us. They said, Eddie, everybody's in the same boat, same situation. You all are a little bit ahead of the game, so that it's good in a way and it hurts in a way. They did check on the other choice, the other vendor that was a finalist, and it said the same situation. You would be paying tariffs with them also. Their factories are also in Mexico, so it wouldn't have. Now they didn't get into the detail of residential, commercial, whatever. They just said, look, their factories are over there. You'd be in the same boat. So. Does that answer the question?
That's the question, is more that we're committed to this particular type of meter, and this is the meter that is being integrated throughout the systems, and for us to go back to another vendor would be starting from scratch and all the investment that we've made to date in addition to that. So it's just a little, it's not an easy, quick switch. You know, it's like, you know, trying to put a different part of a car into another different part of a car, or two different types of batteries that are non-compatible.
Yeah, a lot of the software can work with different systems, but the meters themselves are the base, and they're vendor specific. So, for instance, the head-end systems I was talking about, Badger has its own head-end system, which will communicate with some of our other software systems. Landis & Gyr has its own, and the other vendors are even more restrictive. The other finalist that we had was even more restrictive because they had their own system for both electric and water. So it would be like, it would be like starting from scratch.
Yeah, just something for us to consider in the future. I can't really think of other projects that are going to be this impactful, right? Because this is going to be our infrastructure for the next, whatever, 20 years or so, right? But if there's a possibility to design in maybe a separate solution, right? If we, at the time, had, you know, there was no reason for us to think about it, but if we knew about tariffs, we may have today said, you know, well, why don't you design in these two, right? So the system can work with this one and this one. We're going to focus on this vendor. That way we can more easily swap out, you know, in the future. So I understand it got designed in, right? And it's proprietary, and there's things that, you know, maybe we can't change. But it's a good point, and I have heard questions about that, obviously, because of the financial impact, especially going forward. The other thing I would say is on the tariffs on the other sections, I don't know if we're going to run into the same thing, right? So if we're already discussing that for this project, you know, I think it would be good if we look to the water side, the water meter, whatever other components we're going to be installing, you know, are those going to be impacted? Maybe you guys already checked, but it would be good for us to know now, right? Because we do have 1.5 million on contingency, and if you say, hey, you know, we're going to use another, you know, 100,000 or 200,000, you know, we can kind of get ahead of it there. But just some tips there. I'm good with the information, and we'll see if there's any other questions from the rest of the board.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 4, discussion and a request for future agenda items. What do you think?
I don't have anything at the moment from my side, so.
And I don't have anything at the moment either, and looking forward to having, you know, when will we decide on the composition of this committee? How will that happen?
After July 1st.
Okay. Okay, great. So I think we are done. We can adjourn this meeting. We don't need a motion.
Correct.
All right, so we're good. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming, and enjoy your summer.